Just a reminder to subscribe, friends. Enjoy the episode.
I'm all comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. I'm just kind of relaxed here. I'm thinking, reflecting on the week and
Okay.
saying, wow, what a week and what a week to come. And then we start the live tour and it crosses within the holidays of next week and all kinds of stuff going on.
Okay. What do you have for us?
I am just was trying to understand why last night I popped a hole right on the outside of my nose right here.
Oh, yeah, you really did.
While I was sleeping. And it was like, I felt myself do it. I mean, after I did, I go, ow, that hurt. I have no idea what I was doing to do it.
You attacked yourself.
In the middle of the night, 2 a.m.
Was it like a crazy dream and something was on your nose?
Don't know. I have no idea. All I know is I punched it. I felt the the pain of it. I went and it started to bleed and it wasn't stopping. I go like, what the hell is going on?
That's rather violent.
Yeah. It's, sometimes I get weird and it's like, and I know it's when I have all the stress of so many things to get done.
Yeah.
And then I had the reward, as I showed you just now, that, I have a job that, you really don't know what you do. You can't explain it.
Yeah.
But I was watching Netflix last night, or this morning actually, because someone told me to watch it. And there's a show called Nobody Wants. That's
Okay.
Nobody Wants. New Netflix. And in the pilot episode, which by the way, it's about podcaster. It's really a great show. But at the last 5 minutes, they go into a synagogue and they go, as they're walking in, as the star walks in, you see in the background my product, my work. And you go, wow, look at my work. It actually made TV as a prop. And it was kind of cool. So anybody out there that wants to know what Dad really does, turn into that show, go to the last 5 minutes, and you'll see my work.
Okay.
There you are.
What do you got for socks?
Socks is just hump day. I did not really recognize I was going to be recording this.
Not hump day.
It is not hump day. This is what day? I don't know. It's really been a blur, but let's kick it off. You said you got some great themes.
You want to know what we're talking about today?
I cannot wait. I do want to know.
Boyfriends.
Boyfriends. Okay.
Yeah, boyfriends.
Does that mean intimate boyfriends, or just buddies or pals, or just friends?
Guess you'll find out.
Okay.
That's our theme.
All right. Let's go do it. Boyfriends. Here we go. Kick it off. Number one.
So I am 27 female and my boyfriend is 30 male. We have been together for over 5 years and we plan to spend the rest of our lives together.
Okay.
I love this man with all my being, but he has a friend that I cannot stand. Every time that he says his name, I get a wave of rage and could scream. The reason I hate him so much has probably been a culmination of events that have occurred over the last 5 years. I always felt that he led my boyfriend to make bad decisions, and I know that my boyfriend is big enough and old enough to make his own decisions, which I totally understand. But the beginning of our relationship was more than tumultuous. He would cancel on me last minute, not turn up when he said he would, and also not respond to calls or texts. Now, my boyfriend loves his phone. He's always on it, so I know that he'd purposely be ignoring me. We were in such a bad place, and I got to a point where I was so sick of it. We split up for about 10 days and then ended up getting back together. However, about a month back into our relationship, I found out I had an STI. I had completed an STI test 6 months into our relationship and I was clean, so I knew that something had happened somewhere along the line, but he has never admitted to it and believes that it's an old infection from a few years ago that resurfaced because he didn't finish the antibiotics. I know in my heart that the likelihood of this is small, but I chose to forgive him and we moved on and became stronger than ever. I should add that there has been a few times in the first 2 years that I saw a few messages that weren't appropriate with other girls. Anyway, back to the best friend. His wife is not liked throughout their friendship group as she's a bit of a princess. They all had a big falling out about 2 years ago, and the best friend ghosted all of them. I saw how upset and broken my boyfriend was, and it just reinforced my dislike for him and his girlfriend. About 4 months ago, the best friend made contact with them, and they all made up. I do understand that they all shared so much history as they went to school together, etc., but my boyfriend promised that things wouldn't go back to how they were before. However, they seem to be spending a lot of time together. There was also an incident where my boyfriend went to another friend's house to watch MMA and was meant to come home in the early hours of the morning. However, it was getting really late and he told me he was about to leave to come home, so I fell asleep. I woke up the next morning and my boyfriend was not there. So I've started to think the worst, but of course he's at the best friend's, even though he said he wasn't going there. He apologized and admitted he was in the wrong and said it wouldn't happen again. There always seems to be a reason to have to see him, and I'm just tired of being so angry and hateful towards the best friend. Recently, they've seen each other most weekends. He's just had to go and get some cheesecake the wife made, which took him over an hour. The weekend before that, he was watching boxing at his house, and the weekend before, they went out until 4 a.m. for the best friend's birthday. I keep thinking maybe I should just leave the relationship. Every time he says his name, I fill with rage and hatred. I feel like it's going to ruin our relationship when it's so great apart from this issue. I love this man, and I do want to spend the rest of my life with him, but I don't know how to overcome this issue because I know the best friend isn't going away. Has anyone ever been in a similar situation? Does anyone have advice on how to help relieve my anger and move on?
Well, he's certainly having a relationship outside of their relationship. Look, I mean, this is a decision that clearly, I mean, you're competing for, for all of him. I mean, it's one thing to have look, we all have best friends.
Yeah.
And it's really great when you're with the woman or you're with your spouse, woman or man, that is really your best friend, that you get to really communicate and have that, share all that stuff with them.
Right.
It doesn't mean you don't have your long life friends that you share as well and you do things with. But, it seems like he's having a relationship with this best friend that you're sensing something's going on there that is certainly making your feathers fly, that you're competing. And if you feel that you want a relationship where you're not competing with this next person, find another relationship, because this is a relationship that's not going anywhere. This is a relationship that's going to be going on forever. And if you guys are fighting for whatever that attention or that commitment or that certain piece of that puzzle that you're not getting because it's going, to the buddy's house, that's a decision that you got to make for yourself. I mean, some people here would say you're just being insecure. I don't think so. I think that this is just a little tilted.
Yeah. I know. And you just wonder more about the dynamics of it.
Yeah.
Because you do need to find a balance, just as you do with work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
You need to find a balance between your partner and your friends. And I think a lot of times, generally, people lose sight of their friends. I think that's very common to fall into just only doing everything with your partner, which also isn't healthy on the other side of the spectrum. But if you're hanging out with friends enough to where your partner feels like they never see you, or it's hurting the relationship to where they feel like they might need to leave, then that's rather serious, where it's like, okay, what's the threshold here? Is it truly that he's spending that much time with the other friend, or is it the dislike for the friend is so strong that even an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours going and hanging with the friend once a week?
Why don't we just say it's minutes?
Pushes it.
A minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes with a friend. It's pushing her button.
Right. So it's just, where does that fall? I mean, we have a little bit more info here in the additional info. I am currently studying for a postgrad degree and my partner is a plumber. We both have really busy work schedules and we only really get weekends together. So when I find out he's spending time with friends, I really feel quite sad. So it's really, there's no perfect answer to that. I think it's just really finding what balance of that works for you as a couple, because it's going to be different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If weekends are your only free time, then we need to find the balance between friends and also prioritizing each other, because, you know, if we don't spend time together, then what's this relationship for at all? So maybe, you know, maybe it's worth a big conversation because your feelings are valid, and it's worth communicating that and talking to him to find out what do you think about this? If you're met with, oh, well, I don't spend that much time with him and this blows up to a big deal, then maybe this isn't your person, because we can't figure out how to, you know, find the balance between friends and each other. But I think you have to bring it up and get it out there and really figure out where he sits on it, because otherwise you're just going to keep going down this spiral.
So let's just do an exercise for fun. The best friend's name is Bob. And it's, you know, you're having this thing, you know, Bob is in our life. You know, Bob is, you know, it takes you away. Bob this, Bob that.
Yeah.
Now we change the name to Bob is not Robert, it's Roberta. Whole different dynamic may come over you. Why is he always at Roberta's?
Right.
So, you know, because of, you know, the non-sexual implication, because he's apparently with you and not with somebody else, it's still certainly strange that mentally he can't disconnect
For sure.
from that other individual.
For sure.
And that is what I find to be questionable and weird. Now, I might just be getting flagged for whatever reason, and you know, I'm off base. But it's certainly, as much as you know, your instincts are picking up something. Sometimes we have to trust our instincts in relationships.
Yep.
And I've always said the one thing I hate about when somebody cheats is they fuck up your radar. They really do. They screw you up. They look and say, "Are you out of your mind? I'm not doing this," or "I'm not." And the whole time, something that was in your instinct that said something is a tilt or a miss really was a miss. So we have to kind of go on our radar to say, trust ourselves first. Is there something wrong here?
Yeah.
And I think that it'd be interesting to see what comments people have to feel on that one as well.
That's true. You got to consider all possibilities and really just try to get it out in the open.
Right.
Like, let's sit down and figure this thing out.
And honesty really is the most important part of the relationship, that you guys are clear to understand what makes each other tick. What is the attraction for this friendship? What do you love about him that you say, I want to spend my life with this guy?
Yeah.
But yet there's a gap that's the size of the Grand Canyon. How can you even consider to spend your life with someone with a gap the size of the Grand Canyon? You're going to fall off the cliff every time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's only going to get worse if there isn't some kind of compromise or agreement between you two.
So, I mean, I really do think that you guys have to really look at your own, not just the intimacy side of your relationship, but the friendship side of your relationship, and make sure you're really with that person you love hanging out with and doing everything with, because that's really what it gets down to, the two of you.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to roll on to number 2.
Hi, Jerry, Morgan, and Justin. Longtime listener, first time writing in.
Good.
I, 24 female, broke up with my boyfriend, 24 male, of 3.5 years last week. Thing is, I went about it all wrong. We were in the middle of an argument that I started over something ridiculous, and I ended up saying things just to hurt him rather than tell him what's actually been on my mind. I had just been very irritable that whole week and lost control of my emotions, which usually isn't like me. I feel awful for hurting him and just want to make things right. Ideal outcome: rekindle a friendship since we've decided to continue being roommates and learn to handle him dating other people. But our additional info here, I really didn't want to end things. But with the way our relationship was going, I felt like it was the only option. It was constantly feeling like we were taking 5 steps forward and 7 steps back. At some point in our relationship, I started to feel less like a girlfriend and more like a friend with benefits. Part of me thinks that if it was meant to be, then it would have already been by now. But another part of me is telling me maybe it's the right person, wrong time. I know I should let him go and we should try seeing other people, but I'm so afraid of finding out he really was the one for me when he's already moved on by that point. How do I move on if that ends up being the case?
You definitely were struggling to lose your shit the way that you lost it. Tells me there's a lot going on, and you were at the end of your rope.
Yeah,
that you finally did this. I mean, the fact that you said, "Look, how do we become roommates? How do we become friends and move on?" That's a decision that you get to make on your own. You can do it, long as you recognize. I mean, I've pulled that off. I recognize the person that just wasn't my person. And I, thought it through, and I made sure that was really what I wanted. And I lived it for the rest of, and will live that the rest of my life. And I made the right choice. She wasn't the right person.
Right.
And, it's weird at first because you got that dynamic change, and you guys got to come to terms with it. But if you can make your mind up that's the dynamic change, you can get through it. It's a little navigating. I will tell you, it is a weird navigation to get through that, those islands that are kind of, but once you figure it out, it's very simple.
Okay, so we'll get back to the roommates thing.
Okay.
What if she ends up seeing some other people and comes to the conclusion, okay, we're roommates, but I really think that I screwed up and he's my person.
Then they'll both figure that out. They're both going to look at each other in a period of a time and say, something, we made a mistake. And a lot of things with relationships really is timing. There's no doubt timing comes, you could be with the perfect person in the wrong timing, and it's sad, but there it goes.
Yeah.
But if it's really going to be meant to be, and you guys have gone on and you've tried other relationships, you're going to come home one day and you look at each other and say, something, what are we doing? And
that's true.
You can dial it at that. And at that time, you really did take a mature look at all avenues in your life to really make sure that this is really going to be the right one. You can certainly tell them, I lost my shit. I don't know why. I didn't mean to say the things. I didn't want to be hurtful, but I was angry. Getting angry and yelling at somebody and taking it out on them and not really be able to sit back and deal with get rid of the frustration and, logically look at things. Sometimes we're not unable because the moment of passion is too great.
I mean, I feel like emotion and logic are on a sliding scale where emotion goes up, logic goes down, and then vice versa.
So, the fact that can you guys continue to be roommates and be friends? I think it's a great, responsible way of seeing what can really happen with you. See what's going to happen with the two of you, because you have to be friends before you're anything.
Yes.
And to make sure that you give each other that room to make choices and see what it is, and to see if it really becomes something, or if you really miss each other and say, something, we're not just friends with benefits. We truly love one another, and we are in love with each other, and we really want to do this together.
See, I think sometimes that you're from a different planet, because the way you view the whole roommate thing after breakup is unlike most every other person on the planet.
We do have, I am amongst people that are from other worlds. I'm letting you know now that you can call me ET.
Because from my perspective,
Yes, sir.
if you're truly wanting to move on, I know you have some ability in your brain to say, not my person, I'm totally moved on, I'm fine seeing them do whatever, doesn't affect me. I am not that way. A lot of people are not that way. In my opinion, if we are splitting up and we're truly trying to move on,
Mm-hmm.
doing so as roommates is borderline impossible because you are not removing them. You need to move on and not know who they're bringing home, not know what they're up to, and not have that daily interaction that keeps like this pseudo relationship going in a sense. And it never falls, at least in your case it did, but most of the time I don't think it ever truly is a friendship ever. It's always this awkward fine line.
Let me explain something here, though, which is really, it was not a roommate to be a roommate of choice when this happened. This was a thing where the person said, are you kicking me to the curb and kicking me out?
Right.
And my feeling was, I'm not someone that takes somebody because it didn't work out and punish them, that to say, get out on the street and, good luck to you.
Well, and you knew it was going to be temporary.
That is correct. It was never to be a long-term arrangement. This was a short-term arrangement. You're not being evicted on eviction, you have to give someone proper time. So I just said, look, this is not going to be a permanent thing, but yes, you don't have to get out. The only thing that we have to change immediately is we are not going to share a room, a bed, any of the above.
Well, right.
I have another room. You go to that room, and for a short period of time, if it's going to be a month, 2 months, or 3 months, get yourself, engaged. And I said, most importantly, we are not friends with benefits. And I really do want you to start going on with your life, which means if it's dating, whatever, I am totally okay with that. That's where we need to go and go on with your life. And I wasn't projecting by saying, I want to start dating immediately. It
Right.
really was, I wanted to make sure that we had a clear and concise plan that we are moving separate directions far as a couple together and no confusion in it.
Okay, well, let's say you got a really bad ankle sprain.
Yes,
How are you going to let your ankle heal?
stay off of it.
Right. So let's make that like you just got broken up with, right? You just went through a bad breakup.
Mm-hmm.
You still are going back and forth with the right decision. So there's still feelings there.
Mm-hmm. The nerves are still there.
How do we let that breakup heal?
You got to get away.
We can't, for most people, we can't be sharing a living space
Mm-hmm.
and seeing the progression of us trying to move on, because you keep inflicting that hurt every time you see them and you have those feelings. You see them with someone else, you're going to keep running on that ankle and never healing it.
I am absolutely agree with your philosophy and your thought. I guess in the case where it was me doing what I knew that those feelings were gone and they were dead.
Right.
I wasn't being considerate of them healing.
So I just think find that balance for you.
Mm-hmm.
And like Jerry said, if there is a rekindling as a couple at some point, it will happen where both of you come back together and it's like, yeah, that was a mistake. I'm glad we had the experience to go make sure, but now we're sure.
Right. And it's not even a mistake. It really made them stronger at the end of the day. It can make you a lot stronger because then you guys really know your expectations of each other and what your relationship really is, and you can respect and you can appreciate your relationship a lot more.
Yeah. Okay,
we're going to go on to number 3.
When fall comes around, I love nothing more than cozy evenings at home, especially if there's a football game on.
Well, and a lot of times the first thought is, let's have a glass of wine. And guess what isn't in our fridge? A bottle of wine.
Until Firstleaf came into our lives. We're not wine connoisseurs. We don't know where to begin when we go to a wine aisle, and a lot of times we get wine we don't love. Well, thanks to Firstleaf, we don't have that experience anymore. Firstleaf is a personalized wine club that knows our wine preferences better than we do.
I love that they give you this quiz to start off that ensures that what you're going to get in terms of bottles is exactly fitting for you.
And you can customize it. So for me, I'm not a Chardonnay girly. I don't like the super buttery. So I was able to go in, pick that Chardonnay out, and replace it with a Sauvignon Blanc. And if you get a bottle you don't absolutely love, not a problem. Firstleaf has a 100% satisfaction guarantee.
So get cozy and pop open that perfect bottle of wine from Firstleaf. Go to tryfirstleaf.com/FKS to sign up, and you'll get your first 6 handpicked bottles for just $44.95. That's tryfirstleaf.com/FKS.
Tryfirstleaf.com/FKS.
Number 3.
3. My boyfriend didn't tell me when he'd be coming home from deployment. I'm writing this directly after hanging up the phone with my boyfriend, and will do my best to keep it factual and not too emotionally fueled. I am 22 female and my boyfriend is 22 male. He is super supportive of me and one of the kindest people I know. We have lots in common and I never feel belittled or ignored by him. We talked about deep things like family trauma and surface level things like Power Rangers. I trust him a lot. We've had a few bumps, usually from miscommunication, but we always work it out and things get better. He's been deployed since May. We've been together 10 months and made it official a week before he left for deployment. As most military-associated people know, deployment dates range wildly and ship-out dates never stay the same. His shifted a lot and caused him to miss my graduation, which he was really upset about. He has made it a point to text me every single day of his deployment, despite me letting him know it was okay for him to be busy. He said he didn't want me to feel like he was too busy for me. We have not said, "I love you," and that has been a point of fear for me. I know I love him, but I worry that saying it will chase him away or cause him to realize he doesn't really love me, at least not in the way that I deserve. We've been able to call 3 or 4 times during this deployment. During our most recent phone call, I asked him a question about how much longer he'd be at his particular base. He'd been moved around a lot lately. He replied, "I'm coming home Tuesday." I was naturally flabbergasted and surprised. I simply said, "What?" He explained that the date changed and he meant to tell me, but then forgot. I know life on deployment is exhausting and hectic, chaotic, but telling your girlfriend when you come home doesn't seem hard to remember. I know reintegration is a hard process too, so then I asked, "Would you like to hang out when you are back, or do you need time to recover?" He explained that he won't want to be around people for a bit and will want to just rest. I live an hour away from his base and it's not easy for us to spontaneously meet up. Usually we spend weekends with each other and weekdays at our jobs and in our respective cities. The week he's getting back, I have a trip planned for the weekend. Even though he's back, I won't be able to see him. I could have planned better if he had told me earlier. The week after, he'll be out of town to visit family. Is this a genuine, quote, "he's just a dumb boy" moment, or does he not view me in the same light that I view him? Does he not value and respect me enough to remember to tell me when he is coming home, or to plan a date/hang out with me? Should I cut my losses and accept that maybe we are better as friends? I don't want to break up. I love him and everything he has showed me about myself. I want to see him succeed and cheer him on. I want a future that includes both of us in this relationship, but I had a fantasy of this reunion in my head, and the reality is making me feel hurt and not prioritized.
So they've been together for 10 months. 3 months, really. He's been gone for better than, 2/3 of your relationship. There's a movie called A Few Good Men. And when the guy was going to come home, you would think that if somebody knew they were coming home, the first thing they're calling everybody saying, "I'm coming home." Now, I I don't know the way you are with when you have found yourself in new relationships and you really recognize you missed this person and you're on the way. You're excited. I don't feel the excitement, but that's me. Goes back to I think our first story, we talked about your instinct, your radar. And that's really this one again. This is all about trust your radar. Maybe we should name the show Trust Your Radar. Because your radar is really going to guide you what's acceptable for you. It's not what's right for everybody else. It's what's acceptable for you. And you want somebody that you can, that you're going to feel that excitement that they're coming home and that they want to see you. They want to be able to take you in their arms. You're in love with this person. If it was you getting off that plane and you're in love with him and you see him and think that he's in love with you, you're going to run over to him and hug him and kiss him because that's what happens in our emotion.
Yeah.
Unless that's just not who you are. Now, who knows where he's been deploying what he's experienced. But, if it's coming just back from if he's a radar technician and he's been watching a screen on deployment of running drones,
Yeah, you don't know.
You just don't know. But you would think he'd still be excited knowing he's coming home to see you. And not telling you at first, I could see why someone would say, like, I've been coming home 5 times and they keep changing it on me.
Right, sure.
And doesn't want to get your hopes up. But that doesn't really give me the vibe that I'm really feeling here.
I know. And Tuesday sounds like we're within 7 days.
Tuesday.
Like you don't just say Tuesday. If it was more than a week out, you'd say, oh, September 30th. You wouldn't say Tuesday. Tuesday means like
Tuesday.
Like it's a few days away. There's something either happening for him mentally that he really needs, either some help or he truly just is kind of thinking, I need to come home and not see a single person and just be alone.
And decompress.
Yeah, something. Or because, I couldn't even imagine what it's like to be on deployment and then receive a date that you're going home. And my gut instinct, without having any of that experience, would tell me, oh, I would probably tell Morgan the second I found out. I don't know how far in advance you learn these things, but I certainly wouldn't forget to tell. So maybe you're onto something with the excitement, or maybe there's just some other things going on in the background. But what would you, as advice for her, how would you tell her to navigate this?
Trust your radar. All of my advice to you is listen to your inner self and your radar. What is acceptable for you? Not be upset with your answer, but be realistic with your answer.
Yeah.
And just say, something, this is not the vibe that I want from somebody that hasn't seen me in 7 months.
Yeah. Sure.
And, I got to reevaluate, my feelings to be online with what his response is. And maybe he's just not what I believed it was. And maybe I just need to date.
That's true.
And keep that door open.
Yeah.
And he says, I just want you to know you're the most important thing. He did say that. I want to make sure that you know that you are the most important, person for me or thing for me. And I didn't feel that with that. I found that to be a counter statement. I'm not going to see you for a week and a half. I didn't call you the moment I found out.
Right.
But I call you every day because I want you to know that you're the most important thing to me.
Yeah. So, maybe it's just not a priority and maybe things have just changed over the course of this gap in time where maybe it's just fizzling out. But her ideal outcome is to stay together and have clearer communication and a stronger relationship, which I agree if we are proceeding forward together, which is something you'll find out pretty quick once he's back.
I was about to say, yet to be determined.
Yeah.
So, you guys are still you got together and you're in the infatuation period, that first 6 months when love is blinding. And right in the middle of the infatuation period,
you hit pause.
You press the pause button. He took off.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of like, everything was exciting, all these new feelings that you were feeling again. And all of a sudden, bam, somebody put you on pause. He took off, he came back, and now we got to resume. It's a different gig. So in some ways, you overblew what your relationship really was in the beginning because infatuation isn't reality. It's a possibility of what things might be, but it's still not reality.
Yeah.
And now you got to go back into it and see really where it is. So I'm not telling you not to see him, but keep in your brain that this is, new.
Yeah.
It's still new. You're only going into 3 months and 1 day into it.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Okay. We're going to go to number 5.
No. Number 4.
Can we come back to 4? All right. We're going to number 4.
Another one of this week's partners is PDS Debt. Getting into credit card debt is too easy. Getting out? Well, the system's actually set up so we don't. If you're struggling with credit cards, personal loans, collections, or medical bills, you need to check out PDS Debt. PDS provides a service to match you with debt solutions tailored to your financial situation. So if you feel like you're making those payments every month, trying to tackle your debt, and it's just not going down, PDS Debt could have a solution for you. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies, and there is no minimum credit score required. And you can save more while paying off your debt in a fraction of the time. PDS Debt really strives to understand your specific situation and can help provide alternative solutions to becoming debt-free. Debt is something that just weighs on you. I still have a lot in student loans. So having a solution like this that can take that weight off and provide some clarity in a system that is just terrible to navigate on your own could be really nice. So stop waiting and start saving. Get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/FKS. It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/FKS. pdsdebt.com/FKS.
Number 4.
I would like some advice on how to leave my boyfriend. Hi, everyone. I'm a 27-year-old female. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 2 years, and we have a newborn daughter together. We've had our ups and downs together, but what couple doesn't? The past couple months have been especially hard as he has been liking and talking to other girls behind my back. He stops for a while and then does it again. To me, it's considered emotional cheating. My ex did it to me, and I don't want to go through it again and again. It makes me feel like I'm not enough. I've fallen out of love with him. I do love him, but not like a boyfriend anymore. He's wonderful with our daughter. I keep telling him, but he doesn't get it and talks me into staying with him. I don't know if I can trust him to stop doing it. I'm at a loss and I don't know what to do. Any advice would help.
The first thing I think that I would ask him is, why does he want to continue in a relationship? First of all, you're out of love with him. And you could even start the conversation. And this is really a conversation. It's not about throwing bananas at each other, as we have behind there.
Yeah, I could grab some and throw them at you right now.
We're not going to do the banana throwing thing. But what I really do think you should do is sit down and say, look, I'd like to talk to you for a moment. And this is something that we need to do. Because it affects really our direction for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
So I want to keep it where we're not yelling at each other and we can just really be responsible because we do have a daughter together. From the actions that have gone on, at the end of the day, I'm not in love with you. Now, I can't tell you for sure that that's because of the fact of the emotional cheating that you have been doing. But for you to have the emotional cheating is because I'm going to imagine you weren't being satisfied with something that you felt you had to go somewhere else for that stimulation. So we need to look at our relationship responsibly. Mm-hmm. Nothing is ever going to change the fact that we are a mom and a dad of this beautiful child right here. That locks us together as a family, dysfunctional or not, forever. That's not going to, that doesn't change.
You're right.
What can change is if we're going to be under the same roof or not. And right now, I don't feel like you're a lover. I don't want you as a lover. And you said you want to stay together for what? You want to stay with someone that you don't feel that we're lovers? Do you feel you can get that back from me, that I want to be your lover? Because the actions of what we've been doing has shown that to be futile.
Yes.
So we have to figure out what we're going to do to make life different for us. That we want to stay together, that we love each other, that we want to nurture one another. We want to go through this life experience daily, going to bed at night, waking up in the morning, being lovers somewhere in between this stuff at times. That
Right.
we feel this intimacy that we are together.
Right.
And without that, we got to give it the responsibility it deserves, which means we're not going to be together and we're going to be separate parents with responsibility of respecting one another, but not lying to one another,
Right.
not trying to fool each other. Because the one thing that we have to show our child is that there's honesty in a relationship. Whatever our relationship is, this is the honesty of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I see.
I mean, once that seed of mistrust or doubt or whatever it may stem from, if it was the first time you talked to another girl or something like this, as soon as that seed is planted, it's very hard for it to not grow.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that moment, you don't feel like you're rock solid. Where, oh, I don't even have to think about my partner doing anything or doing anything behind my back. Like, I don't even have to worry. It's just, we're committed to each other and we're just doing life. And as soon as something comes in and disrupts that,
It's
and
like,
that seed is planted.
is it kind of like that seed is like a beep on the radar screen that says,
yes.
are we going
Yes.
back?
Well,
we're back to radar.
Well, and speaking of the radar, hers is going off because she has direct experience with her past partner
Mm-hmm.
doing this to her.
Bing, bing,
and
bing,
she
bing,
has
bing.
no tolerance for it, which is exactly what we talk about with so many of these stories is this is a great experience for you because though it's not like great to go through, it's such a great learning moment because the second anyone ever else does this to you,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to read it and you're going to be out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in this story, we're jumping into the future. Radar's going off because I've been through this shit and I don't want to go through it again.
It hurts.
And it's led so far enough, the seed's planted and grown so much that the statement, I've fallen out of love with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest statement in this whole thing.
Huge.
And so I like your approach to the conversation. I think that's a great way to do it. And it's very hard. My music partner and I, we once tried to fire our manager because they were just basically like a parasite. They weren't doing anything to further us and we were going out making all this money and they were still taking their cut, just sitting back like, oh, cool, great. I'll take oh, you landed that big thing? I didn't have anything to do with it. I'll take my cut. Cool. We tried to fire them and upon doing so, got talked all the way back to being like, okay, all right, cool. Yep, let's just keep doing this. We trust you. And then, obviously a couple days later, we came to our senses and we're like, no, okay, we're doing this. So I understand what it's like to keep being talked back into staying and again. And I think this time when you approach this conversation, the difference is we're not getting talked back.
Mm-hmm.
My decision is this. I have fallen out of love. Maybe some of the stuff you said about like, why do you want this relationship? How could we get back? How could you get me back to that point of like feeling solid? Like I don't have to be looking over my shoulder thinking, oh, you're doing something constantly. So I think it's a balance of all of that. And I think that's really the advice is stick to it this time and focus on you and then focus on being a great co-parent.
And this is really something that you just said that's amazing. Don't get sold back into it. If someone's going to try to sell you twice the same rotten fruit, you got to make sure that fruit that they've changed something, that it's not the same rotten fruit.
Right.
And because you already know what they sold you the rotten fruit the first time, but don't let them do it to you again. Make sure that they're going somewhere else and shopping for better goods. And when it comes in, check in the box that those goods are fresh.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then maybe, yes, you can get someone that they've learned from their experience, and they've really learned from the experience, and there's going to be a difference. That's the point.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's impossible for him to change. I'm saying that it's up to you to make sure that before you buy that fruit again, that it is a different vendor, that he did change it. And he is not going to fall back to he recognized exactly what was going on, and he knows not to go down that, back to that vendor.
Yeah.
Life has changed. And he is going to be the person that you really know that he can be. Maybe he doesn't even know he can be it. And maybe he can't be it. But you're going to find out, because you're really going to take off the blinders and trust your radar.
For sure. For sure.
When they're failing, believe it.
Yeah.
Do not make excuses for these people. I mean, this goes to all of us. Do not make the mistake by believing these people when we know for sure that they are full of shit. Don't sell ourselves that we're willing to accept it.
Yeah.
And the faster you make that decision that you're done, and you hold the I'm done, and you trust yourself, that's when you're able to move on. And I think that's probably why I can move on after a relationship, because I look and I say, I've been down this road. I know where it is. And
yep.
I've had and I'll have a conversation once. And when I have to have it a second, then I'm really on. And if it goes to the third, I don't even go to the third.
Third time's the charm.
I just really release it. And, and it's sad, because sometimes they're wonderful people. It's just, whatever it is, it's just not the right one. Okay.
All righty.
Another one of this week's partners is Gabb. I'm so glad I grew up when I did, because the internet these days is crazy. And as a parent, how do you monitor that? How do you make sure they're getting good content? Well, that's where Gabb can come in. Gabb is the leader in safe smartphones and watches for kids, teens, and tweens. There's no social media apps, no internet browser, and it has GPS tracking. These devices are built from the ground up to keep your kids safe and keep you connected with them. There's unlimited talk and text, a clean music streaming app, and over 100 third-party apps that can be installed at your discretion. My niece is at an age where she's definitely too young for a phone, but my brother and sister-in-law still want to be able to have her be able to talk to them or reach out if she needs help or isn't in a great situation. That's where the Gabb Watch comes in for her. Gabb really is a game changer, and you can never be too safe when it comes to your kids. This is the absolute best time to check them out, because right now, Gabb is offering $25 off any device to new customers with no contract required. That's $25 off any Gabb smartphone or smartwatch. Just go to gabb.com/FKS. That's where you'll find the best deal. That's Gabb, GABB.com/FKS. Gabb.com/FKS.
Okay.
Now we're rolling to number 5.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bing, 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 bing.
Hi, FKS fam.
We're here. Hello back.
My name is Becca, and I've been listening to this podcast and THT for quite a while.
Becca, we thank you for being part of the family.
You guys never fail to brighten my week, and hearing about what is going on in your lives makes me feel like a part of the family. I'm always rooting for y'all, crying with y'all, laughing with y'all, and sending warm thoughts and hugs from afar.
And I got something for you. I want you to take this and record this on your phone and make it your alarm in the morning. Good morning, Becca. It's Dad. Good morning, Becca. It's Dad.
Okay. I thought you were about to say something really sweet and nice, but you did
good
something
morning.
that was...
saying good morning, Becca. It's Dad.
I don't know. It's kind of, it's a little weird.
Well, it makes her smile. I thought.
Maybe. I don't know. Okay. Here we go.
Did you like, good morning, Becca. Time to get up.
Sure. On to the story.
Well, get to it already.
My challenge right now is a pretty minor one, but felt that you would have some great insight. I, 27, have been dating my boyfriend, 32, for almost a year. Our relationship has been extremely positive and fulfilling and is progressing at a steady and comfortable pace. We have a lot of fun together and share similar values. Everything is going incredibly well, and we are both on the same page about where things stand now and general ideas about the future. The only challenge is with the difference of dynamic in our jobs. I'm a middle/high school teacher, and my day is crazy, nonstop, rushing from class to prep to duties, constantly putting out fires and managing student behaviors, attending meetings, pushing paperwork, and often bringing grading and planning home on evenings and weekends. His job is significantly more laid back as he works security, which means patrolling the property or sitting in the guard shack monitoring cameras and scanning IDs. His hours are long, he works 12-hour shifts, and he often works additional overtime when his coworkers call out or quit. After these shifts, he often complains of being tired or about what a long day he has had. The difficulty I'm having is being a caring and sympathetic partner when he is sharing about his day. On the one hand, I think that all jobs have frustrations and challenges and that no one can fully understand those without being in the position. On the other hand, selfishly, I often feel frustrated or exasperated when he complains. I'm starting to feel resentment about how a 12-hour day for me is running around on my feet with constant overstimulation and mental overload, with work to take home at the end, while a 12-hour day for him is frequently scrolling on his phone or walking around listening to podcasts, based on what he has shared with me. At the same time, he does acknowledge the difficulties of my job and frequently steps up to support me in various ways. Not only does he listen to me ramble about my day, but he cooks for me regularly, offers to drop by and take my dog out if I'm staying late at school or meeting friends after work, and brings me flowers or plans dates that will brighten my week. While I acknowledge that my problem is ultimately just a difference in the nature of our occupations, it's difficult for me to accept at times. I'm worried that over time I will grow continually frustrated and eventually snap at him or be invalidating, when I also want to be a supportive and understanding partner to him. I'm also concerned that resentment will grow and overflow into other areas of the relationship.
Good writing. And this is interesting because I was having a lot of thought process as you were going through this. It is hard to imagine somebody else's job. And until you've lived it, you don't understand what they're going through. Now, I heard everything that you have to do during the day. And let me tell you, your day is so busy that it tells me, man, your day flies by. You don't even know where time went. You got there and you're going home and you say, where did the day go? And this guy is going to work and his day is in slow motion. And it's a whole different thing. So it's mentally exhausting to be in slow motion all day long.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to have a tooth extraction. I mean, I would rather have a tooth extraction than to deal with it. And if you want to talk about pain, pull your tooth slowly or pull your tooth quick. Which one goes by quicker? I mean, it's like, so I understand what he's going through. I have witnessed, this job that he has. It is not easy. It is draining because it is so slow and so monotonous and nothing's going on. And you got to watch that camera to see if anyone's doing anything. And half the time you feel yourself nodding off because watching the camera is so like watching paint dry. Go in your house for 8 hours and watch paint dry and tell me if you stood awake the whole time watching it.
Yeah.
It was the longest day of your frickin' life. Where your day, it could be 14 hours of impactive overstimulation.
Yeah.
And your day just flew by. So in a lot of ways, as busy as you are, it's less draining.
Or equal.
or equal.
Like it could be rather similar, actually.
Either way, it is a different lifestyle, and your day flies by, and he is mentally just fried because it really had no interaction going on. He needs more stimulation.
Sure.
So what really might be interesting to see other jobs that he can get to provide that other stimulation to see what happens in your relationship in that way, and appreciate what he does bring to your relationship as far as your support that he has and the love that he gives you, and what's really part of the, who he really is inside. That's really where it lies. This job might be a temporary thing for the next to his career change. You guys are young. Things are going to change. I mean, look, my first job I was scooping 2.5 ounce scoops at Baskin Robbins, and things have changed in my life. I've done many different things and stuff that has brought jobs from being boredom to jobs that were just amazing with experience.
Yeah.
So life is about the journey, and you have to really kind of look at the fact, is this guy going to be an interesting journey? Am I going to be happy with this journey as we're going through these changes?
Right.
Because what's here today is not tomorrow, but who he is today is who he is tomorrow. And that's what you kind of want to take a look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've never said that before. And this is an interesting... It was an interesting ride on because it brought so much other depth to relationships.
Right. Well, and, like you said, I wouldn't take for granted all of those ways he does step up. And I know you acknowledge them here, which is good, because a lot of people don't even have that. A lot of the write-ins we get are someone who stays home, plays video games, and does whatever all day, can't clean, doesn't help with kids, doesn't help with anything. So I wouldn't look past what you do have. And I think maybe it's just a matter of perspective. I think if he's happy with his job, then there's no necessity to change. But if he hates it and comes home and it's just constant complaining about how awful it is, then maybe as a team we start looking for other options for him. But it's, the ideal outcome, I would like to figure out how to express my frustrations in a healthy way and adjust my perspective. So you already know it is perspective, because I would like to continue to have a healthy and supportive relationship and not allow these annoyances to overflow into other areas of the relationship or fester long term. It's really interesting, and I'm not I don't feel qualified to answer how to approach a conversation about these frustrations. I'm curious if therapy could even be a good tool, because you can already see that this could become a huge problem in the relationship if it's not addressed. So find a professional who can more clearly speak to how to address that, and our people in the comments, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who have gone through something similar or been on the flip side, and maybe they have some experience of how it was addressed / if it was in the wrong way or how it could be improved. Something like that would really help.
I got a question. Is it out of the idea of sitting down with the man that you love and say, do you love what you're doing? Is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? It's this, you have other things other goals you may have.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with this goal. What is it that you really want to do? And then listen to see where his future in his mind says some other things that he may want to attack. And then you can sit there and say, something? Why don't you try it?
Yeah.
Why don't you try other things to see where you want to go, and because every experience that you do in job or life, living life, brings you to get a different idea that can take you down a different path.
Yeah, you never know.
I was talking to somebody when I built an airplane 32 years ago, and they said, what did it cost you to do it? And I said, I gave them the number that what it was supposed to cost me that I thought in my brain when I bought this thing, and then what it really ended up costing me. And they said, boy, did you make a mistake? And I said, no, I didn't. They go, well, how could you say that? I said, because everything I do today was from an experience that I experienced by building that plane.
Yeah.
All I learned about it with frequency of light frequency and ways of building things and what to do. When I started the plane, I didn't know how to hold a hand drill. And look at me today. I mean,
that's scary.
I did not know how to drill a hole, basically.
And you said, I'm going to start building a plane.
Yeah, well, I thought it would be easier. But
most people would start with like, I'm going to build a table.
Yeah, well, I screwed up tables, so I thought I'd just try the plane instead.
Should have just built a rocket.
There's time. I'm not dead yet.
Okay.
But the point is that everything that you do in life, no matter what the experience is, when I was working at one of my other jobs where I was learning how to disassemble and clean up factories and put things together, I learned so much about tooling, and everything that I have done in my life has taught me something that I have used in my life. And wisdom you gain from experience.
Yes.
You don't get wisdom by buying it.
No.
You just don't get.
I think at some point you'll be able to do that though, especially if you have a chip in your brain.
Yep.
Instead of going to class, guess what? You just plug into a little like computer. It uploads for a second. You're like, whoa, okay, I learned it all.
I guarantee you'll go farther with a chip in your brain than a chip on your shoulder.
Nice.
Nice, huh?
Nice.
Okay. So there we are. So let's see what life, what he brings back, what he wants to do. And as a friend.
Yeah.
And someone you're going through life with, try to bring each other's goals to one another.
Yeah.
And I think that might be an interesting approach.
Okay.
So we'll see you next week. Are we going to have Patreons this week?
Of course.
So come to the backyard. We're going to have some Patreon stories.
Yes.
And
we're going to continue the theme, actually.
We are. Fantastic. And we have, when you hear this, we'll already be on tour, I believe. I will be going
the day before.
So we'll be in San Diego, I think, tomorrow night.
Wednesday.
And then everyone goes different. We go to different places. Some of the shows I will not be at because I can't, but I will be popping in some of them. So some of them you may see me in line.
If you're lucky.
It's usually where I hang out. They do their VIP meet and greets, and I like to go out and hang out with everyone that's suffering in line because it's more fun for me out there.
There you go.
So we'll see you out there. Bye, guys.
Bye.